Hi everyone, Jay Agner here. Welcome to the first customer. Today I'm lucky enough to be joined by Alex Nordlinger. He is the CEO of Materialize Labs. Hi Alex, how you doing?
Hey Jay, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man, good to have you. You are a Southern California guy.
That's right, born and raised.
Such a jealousy comes over me when I think of living over there.
Yeah, it's a tough living.
All right. So you said born and raised. So look, you run a similar business to me in the sense that we both run agencies. You got the dev thing kind of rolling, which is really cool. I think you're in an interesting part of your business where you're figuring out all sorts of value props and marketing stuff and fun business stuff. But let's take a step back
Sure.
uh, to how you even got there. So you grew up in SoCal. Where'd you come from? And were your parents entrepreneurs when you were a kid?
No, they were not. I kind of got bit by the entrepreneur bug early, but yeah, I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, Santa Monica, grew up by the beach. And my parents, my dad was in entertainment industry, which is pretty typical for, being in LA.
Right.
And my mom, she was, more or less a homemaker. She's now like runs like a little Etsy store and makes like art projects and seashell stuff.
So
SoCal.
she's an entrepreneur too. See,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there you
Good
go.
point. She
Beautiful.
she runs her own business and she's been doing it for longer than I have, much longer. So, but yeah, born and raised.
Wow. All right. So where'd you go to college, or did you go to college?
I went to UC Santa Barbara,
Okay.
so
What did you go to school for?
English.
Okay. So you're not doing
That's
anything
what I
related
took.
to. I guess you're speaking English. I guess that
Not to
counts
tech.
as.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it helped me, to communicate better. But
What was the
um,
what was the goal? What was the goal of the English degree? What were you going for?
so growing up, like my parents were not really into tech, but my grandfather, I was lucky enough to have a grandfather who was like basically obsessed with Apple, and he was always, getting like the coolest new Apple products. This is like before iPhone and
Hmm.
before iPod, way back in the day,
Right.
before even the iMac came out. Was using OS 9, and I was just always fascinated by computers. I just took a passion towards it. I don't know how to explain it. I just was obsessed, like when it came to computers and anything tech related. So I started teaching myself to code like at like 10 years old, but I had always thought like maybe I can apply what I know about computers towards something like I'd like to write. I like to think I was a pretty good writer towards something like the legal industry, being a lawyer. And
Right.
I was thinking, oh, well, I already have the tech background. If I major in English, it'll help me towards going to law school. And like quickly into my college career, I realized that's not what I want to do. So hence the English major.
Right. Okay. All right. So
Yeah,
you went after English. Did you do anything with that degree after you graduated?
no, not a thing.
No, not a thing.
No,
So
no.
where did you
And
go
I,
after
I didn't
college?
graduate. I left
Oh, you
school
didn't
early.
graduate.
No,
Beautiful. Okay.
no,
I didn't graduate for my first college
right
either.
on.
I went to VCU for like I called it 13th grade is what it felt like. It was like
Right,
I
yeah.
was like this is not for me.
Dropout
So
club.
I did go to Full Sail though, and I did finish that one. So you
Oh,
you
right
you
on.
left college and then what?
Yeah, so started college, went to UCSB, the Santa Barbara. It's here in California. It's like the Central Coast, and it's, not much different than growing up in Santa Monica. I'm a surfer. I just wanted to keep surfing, and I like the beach a lot. So, that fed into my decision to go there a lot. And like in school, I guess I was kind of done going to school, honestly. Like, I didn't feel like I was getting much out of it in college. It was really hard for me to work really, really long, tough hours just to get a grade back. Like it just wasn't fulfilling or rewarding in the least. And I had worked, done some internships, like where I actually made money, like programming,
Right.
doing the stuff I actually love to do. And when I was in school, I just like wasn't getting anything out of it other than like the fun we were having. in terms of like growing in my career and whatnot. So
Right.
I left school and I went just straight into work because that's what I actually enjoyed doing.
So you went
And
straight to be a programmer?
straight to being a programmer, like I said, I had kind of taught myself how to code like starting at 10 years old. Like I
Mm-hmm.
was infatuated with the web in particular. And I remember my dad picked up like a flyer, like a laminated flyer with some HTML, like cheat sheet stuff on it. It was like HTML4. Yeah, this is tables.
Mm-hmm.
Back when tables were all the rage and like GeoCities is where you hosted your
Oh
stuff.
yeah,
And I
Angel
just like
Fire, man. I remember those days. Yeah.
Angel Fire. I am, every year, like I am looking for my old GeoCities website all over.
Dude,
Like
me
I
too. If
can't
I
find
there,
it.
there you go. There's our new. That's our next business, dude. Is will
Find your
be
Angel.
GeoCities hunters, dude. Like people
Dude,
from the '90s who made shitty websites.
if I could find it, because I remember I made like a blog, like this before blogs existed, and it was like a live journal blog, but I would just write in my HTML tables,
That's
like
awesome. Yeah.
update whatever I was doing, and I can't find it, and it's killing me. Like, but yeah, I learned that way. Everything I've learned has basically been self-taught or on the job, when it comes to what I do, like
Right.
writing code and stuff. And I had worked as an engineer for startups and or some established companies too, like in high school over the summer. And that's where I was like, I loved making money, to be honest. I just like absolutely loved getting a paycheck.
Yep.
And it was like $10 an hour at the time, like when I had my first internship
Mm-hmm.
in like Hollywood on Hollywood Boulevard. It's a
Oh
terrible,
wow.
terrible place to work, like, a terrible place to go. But yeah, I loved doing it, and I learned more on the job than I could by teaching myself because I had others there to instruct me, and there were like
when was that? Like how old were you? How old were you when you were doing that?
the first internship I was 16.
Okay.
Yeah, so I literally came in, and I was like, yeah, I can do HTML,
Right.
and they were like, do you want to learn JavaScript? Okay, I'll do it.
Right.
Yeah,
So where between kind of leaving college and doing the programmer thing, and now obviously a lot happened. Um, what were the steps from you to kind of jumping out and saying, all right, I want to do a
yeah.
programmer because that's what I found to be passionate about, which is amazing that you took that leap because a lot of people don't. Um, where did the desire to start your own actual business instead of just working for others as a consultant, where did that
Yeah.
how did that kind of build up?
Yeah, I when I was a kid, um, like the first thing I did before having any sort of programming job was like fix computers around the neighborhood. Actually, like there was a guy at my school who graduated and he had a little like IT business fixing people's like routers and stuff around the neighborhood. And he was going to school and he was like, let me pass my clients off to you. You can take over. So I made flyers and stuff, tried to win business. That's my
Mm-hmm.
parents and parents' friends and friends' parents, stuff like that. So that was like my first real like entrepreneurship like gig. And
How many people like responded to the ads? Was it like was it
I
like
had
did you
some
get
decent,
feedback? Was it 'cause, I mean that's got to be weird as a kid to like
yeah,
advertise a service and like get people. You probably don't realize at the time like how big of a deal that is.
I know. I didn't think about it. I just thought like let me make some scratch and so I can
Yeah.
have them spending money and like
Yeah.
just feel good about what I was doing. And like
Mm-hmm.
I would get dropped off at people's houses, by my parents to do the work because like, there's no Uber and I didn't have my license. And
Yeah.
but
Wow.
yeah, I mean, looking back, like look, I didn't have any systems in place to like manage my leads and see what my conversion rate was. But I was just like
Yeah, I still don't.
winging it. Right?
I'm still
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
still
still
trying to
working
figure
on it.
that
Yeah.
out.
But yeah, that was like my first like taste of like
Sure.
entrepreneurship, I guess.
Yeah,
But
I like that. All right. So
yeah.
talk to me about Materialize. What was the genesis?
So while I was programming, like working for companies, I enjoy what I do. I enjoy learning, enjoyed working for people. And I always knew I wanted to like start my own business, but I never knew what it would be. When I was maybe 20, early 20s, mid 20s, I was working at like a software development studio, basically a really small app, web and mobile app shop in like Marina Del Rey, and we were working for like clients, and the owner of the business had some big name brands he was doing work for, and us we were doing work for. And I got a glimpse of his like margins of like he was paying me like dog crap, and
Right.
I was happy at the time with that kind of rate. And then I saw what he was charging the clients. It's more than I charge my clients still to this day, and this is like almost 10 years ago. Um, and I was like, oh my God, like I could do a much better job than he is, like
Right.
managing these things. I just need to get those clients somehow because they were like, Fortune 100 type brands, and like, how do you get those?
Right.
It's all relationships. That's what I learned. But yeah, I that was when it gave me the idea that like, okay, running like a dev shop is awesome because you get to work on many projects at once and charge good rates and hire other people to do a lot of the work for you and while you run the business and stuff like that. So that gave me the idea that something like that could work, but it was still wasn't like another 6 or 8 years before I thought, okay, it's time to do it myself. So I was working as an engineering manager at a nonprofit. Actually, I built a team. I was the principal engineer, and then we had a big project that everybody. I convinced the stakeholders to go and do, and I had to hire a whole team. And I was like, sure, I can do it. Like just like everything else in my life, I just faked it till I make it, sort of
Okay.
mentality.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
um, and I
No, I
built a
know it well.
team. Yeah, right. Like that's how entrepreneurs get stuff done, really. I built a team, I hired, and I learned how to fire and like, all this stuff, make people happy, manage projects, and it was like trial by fire. And that went pretty well, and that gave me like the confidence and some insight into like, oh, I can like just hire people to do things with me,
Right.
to work on projects outside of like work. Because as a software engineer, you get a lot of people coming to you with ideas that of projects or products that they want to build, and I say most programmers have side gigs,
Right.
like supplementing like whatever they're doing full time. So
Mm-hmm.
I could only do one at a time, right? Only one side gig, like barely even put any time towards any side gig. And I was
Right.
like, well, I can stop saying no to more side gigs if I can get more people to work for me and with me on stuff
Right.
that people are coming to me with. So that was like 4 years ago, and yeah, it just kind of it grew from there really. Like I think that's the first project that came in. Like was a friend of mine who needed assistance, and I was like, I can do it with a team member. And they were like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we don't care who does it.
Right.
Just like if you can do it, you can do it. And then yeah, I just like kind of hit the ground running from there. But it was
It's
still a
it's
side project at that time.
it's interesting because you and I have like a very similar trajectory and arc in that story, but it's like um it's interesting how um you know having an agency you end up with the same problems, right? You all you kind of you figure it out to some degree, and then you kind of run into the same problems. And there's a lot of
Yeah,
people like us that are in the same boat trying to figure it out, even after being quote unquote successful business owners. We kind of stumbled through it. We figured it out, and like you said, it always usually starts with that side hustle. But I used to have to basically work on a project and then gain the trust of that person and then say, hey, I've got somebody else. And then at some point I realized I don't have to do that. I don't have to do the thing where I start and then I do somebody else. And you have the same thing, right?
yep,
But when you look back, could you have just done that from the start? Could you have just created a plan, or did you need to get in there yourself to get your hands dirty to understand how to make that pitch later? You know what I mean?
yeah. I feel like I probably could have started earlier, but I didn't have the experience of managing a team well. So, like, if I had started before I progressed, became like a manager, and I was the CTO of a startup for a brief moment, I probably wouldn't have ran a very successful company. or I would have had a lot more trouble
Right.
learning how to run it. I probably wouldn't have had the same confidence, but that doesn't mean I don't wish I started when I thought I should,
Right.
because all the people that came to me in the last 6, 8 years that I was just saying, I got a full-time job, I can't help you with, like, I could have said yes to, and
Right.
I probably would have learned a lot faster and quicker
Right.
and
Yeah.
harder, but
Yeah, and it's at some point you got enough confidence and experience that you were able to pivot that sales pitch to more of like, hey, I have a team from the start, than like having to meet this person, work with them a little bit, gain their trust, and then kind of like introduce these people, as you've already got that relationship built. But the only difference is experience, and it's really experience, right? I mean, that's the only that's the only difference between when you first send those out and you kind of like try to, and confidence. You build your confidence, like, oh, I could do that. I could pitch straight at these people and say, here's what I have, here's the team. But I think when you're early on, it's easy to be scared of losing business too, right? You want to do
oh,
everything.
totally.
You never want to say no to anybody.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Have you found it? Have you found it easier to say no as your business has grown and matured?
I'd say I'm saying no more than I say yes at this point. Because you know, budgets, types of work, yeah, like what people are willing to spend, the size of the project. I am pretty firm on what I know I'm good at and Materialize is good at delivering on.
Right.
So I'll be upfront and honest, and yeah, I have more confidence. Really, it just comes down to that I don't need to say yes to everything and beat myself up on crazy small projects that like people want the most from you on. And that's what I've found. It's like the smaller the project, the smaller the budget, the less they resources they want, the more care and attention they expect, and then you end up working your ass off for like small potatoes and going like way over budget and trying to make these people happy. So yeah, I learned that the hard way.
I think you're right. Yeah, the smaller, more nitpicky ones are always not even worth it at the
Oh
end of
my
the day.
God. It ends up being way more expensive than like the biggest clients you can get with,
Yeah,
with
the headaches themselves aren't. They're
oh,
so big, they're not worth it.
no way.
So,
But in the
so
beginning you have to say yes.
that's what I was
Like
gonna say. At the
you gotta
beginning,
build
you
your
do have to say
portfolio.
yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. You got to put the grunt work in.
Yeah.
So what was? I mean, I know you got a lot of work from referrals and stuff like that. What did you? And it's easy to not have a niche on Upwork. I think I think both of
Yeah.
us kind of started our business through Upwork, and like as long as you are salesy enough and you can kind of like make a good pitch and you can do whatever, like you can be fine on Upwork. But did you start to kind of recognize your identity and like realize I don't want to call it a niche because again I don't think that you can. I think you can get by on Upwork without having one, so you don't have to develop one
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But having spoken to you for a while, I know that you've been working on it. When and how did you start to kind of identify like, oh, this is the type of project that we're better at, or these are the type of clients I want to work with? Like, what was your
Yeah.
process to whittle that down a little bit?
I'm still figuring that out. Like you said, trying to niche down. But so when I first started the company, the first project I got where I hired someone to help me, fulfill the role on it. That was when I was still working full time at another company. And then the real first project we had where I went full time, I had some savings and I was about to get married. So it wasn't like the best time, start like a married life, start a family and a new business at the same time. But I basically knew that I did pretty well working on my friend's project. And like, if I could just duplicate that
Mm-hmm.
many, many, many times over, things would go really, really well for me. Because like, you're just like, it's like 2x, 3x, 4x,
Yeah.
like nearly. And I signed up for Upwork because I was actually looking for talent on there. I was like looking for, I don't know, like a Shopify engineer. And like while I was doing that, this is when I was still working full time, I was like, oh, they have like a freelancer type uh role you can sign up
Mm-hmm.
for or whatever. And I was like, I'll just sign up. And I ended up getting a project through Upwork, and that was the first project that I still work on, Materialize still works on, that showed me Upwork could work for getting new clients, and that I can find people that aren't through my network, right?
Right.
So I created that freelancer account that I'm still working with today, and there was no niche. Like I think I got the project because like I came way under in terms of price of anybody else, and like the guy I met with liked that my background was in application development, and
Right.
he wasn't scared of me hiring my own team to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
that first project, like I said, I'm still running. I took equity in exchange for, a significant price decrease. And I was just like, I left my job, my full-time job where I was getting a paycheck, had a little bit of savings, and basically only this. And I basically ran the numbers. I was like, I can just barely pay all my bills if I just have this one project. And that's a good foundation because I'll just start building on top of that. So I got the project and I was like, I got to hire, like, I got to figure it out. I got to set up a company and LLC. And I had to do everything like all at once. And I hired the worst people ever. And like, they were way overpriced. And I was doing everything like cut rate, cutting corners, doing a lot myself. A lot of the coding was being done by me. And yeah, it was like a really funny way to start. But Upwork just basically began from there. And I've had a lot of trouble niching down because software development, you know, by design, you can work on anybody that wants to build software. So web applications, mobile applications, whatnot. Um, but I've tried to identify those industries that we've done the most work in,
Mm-hmm.
and because we have a portfolio and case studies we can show, and then try to target customers in those verticals. But Upwork has been like an insane source for many of our projects. I was talking to you yesterday about it, like over 50% of the projects we've gotten, and a lot of
Yeah.
those projects that we've been working on for years came from Upwork, which is not scalable, very unreliable, really finicky, like it's just a terrible platform, but it's done wonders for Materialize.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great marketplace. They've got great marketing. It leaves a lot to be
That they do.
desired, a lot to be desired,
Yeah.
user experience wise and monetarily, but it is a great marketplace. I wonder, um, since since the jobs are so targeted in Upwork that you pick up, and if you grow a business inside of Upwork, then you're just picking up very targeted stuff. I think it probably makes people like us even more hyper scared to
Mm,
niche down
mm.
because we go, well, we've only seen four of those jobs on Upwork in the last 4 years, and you go, well,
Good point.
why would I just go fintech? But in
Yeah.
reality, there's an entire universe of fintech, companies out there or people out there trying to start fintech. So I think
Yeah.
it's been a blessing and a curse since like as I've started to step out, and I think as you continue to step out, and hand some of those responsibilities off or do whatever you're going to do, it makes it a little easier to reflect back and be like, oh, my business today isn't necessarily defined by how I created it in Upwork, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to
Yeah.
live in that vein anymore. And it's scary as shit
Yeah.
because you got to restart basically from scratch. But you've got, you've got a great, so you have a low project count, which is different than us.
Yeah.
We have a high project count. Um, how have you, like, what are some of the kind of foundational things you've done to make sure those clients stay happy? Since you don't have many, you have to keep them happy. Like, is it, uh, you know, you doing the kind of dedication to make sure those clients stay in, or have you got other people doing it? Like, what does your customer retention look like?
Yeah. So for the most part, the projects we work on, they're custom, they're bespoke applications, mobile apps, web apps, and nine times out of ten, there's going to be some sort of support and maintenance as a part of building that platform. So
Mm-hmm.
over the years, when I first started, I didn't have any, residual income coming in from the support and maintenance agreements I had with clients. But now we have worked on enough platforms to where we have enough recurring revenue that has allowed me to scale a little bit better. But yeah, the projects we work on almost always need some sort of maintenance. So, like you said, we have very small project count. I think in relation to the revenue that we're doing, like it's really small. So that's why I'm trying to scale
Mm-hmm.
rapidly. Um, and it's because like they're super high value projects. We work on them for a really long time. And we work really closely with our customers because we serve as like the engineering department that they don't have,
Mm-hmm.
because we provide everything out of the box, like software development as a service.
Mm-hmm.
So in the beginning, like I was doing so much of all the work, it's getting the clients. I was doing the sales, I was, closing and proposals, and I was writing proposals that were like super in depth and basically giving away the game plan for free, and I wasn't winning stuff. I've learned a lot in terms of how to write proposals and who to write proposals for. I could go on for years about it. But yeah, I was doing everything. I was managing the projects. I was doing all the hiring. I was doing a lot of the deployments and the DevOps. Like, I wasn't doing most of the coding, but I was like, you know, engineering manager, project manager,
Right.
invoicing, sales, time tracking, bug QA. I was doing all the QA myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like engineers, as you know, should not do QA, but I was doing it, and I just had to teach myself so much crap, and I hit a limit where I couldn't actually work on many projects at a time because of
Yep.
all the attention each project took from me.
You hit the same
Uh,
problem again.
Hit the same problem.
you hit your second what do they call it? A task saturation. That's what they call it
Yeah,
when you're a pilot. When you have too many tasks at the same time, you're task
I
saturated.
just hit my limit. And there was
Yeah.
a time where I had to stop sending Upwork proposals out. I literally couldn't entertain a single idea. And I was like, well, when I finish these projects we're working on, I need to keep the pipeline moving because like this is going to get delivered and then I have nothing. And I
Mm-hmm.
literally didn't have the time. Like I was working like 16-hour days and my engineers are all outsourced offshore. So the teams are all over the place. My clients are onshore. So it's just like I was up all the time. I was working all the time and I was spread super thin. And I knew from listening to podcasts and doing a lot of reading and meeting with other business owners, I was like, I knew I needed to hire, not because the engineers I had on lock but
Right.
very early on, I knew where to go to hire and how to hire people well in terms of engineering talent. And I'm an engineer, so I can do that pretty well. And management, like management operations, that kind of support, I was afraid to hire for because I was like, well, I'm really busy right now, but I need to pay someone, six figures to do some of the work I do, like, because it's
Right.
really technical. Um, what if I lose the project tomorrow or like my pipeline runs dry and like now I got to pay someone six figures to do stuff and like it's so much to teach. Our processes aren't like everybody else's. And so I just held off from hiring. I was just like saving money, like putting everything away that I didn't have to spend on like operational costs and just building up a big, safety net essentially.
Right.
And I should have hired a lot earlier. Like I should have hired that support because I wouldn't have been killing myself as much. And but it took me a long time before I really was ready because I was so conservative, and I still am pretty conservative with spending money. Um, so there's a lot of fear involved, and I think fear is very common for entrepreneurs in general. But
Mm-hmm.
it took me way longer than it should have to like see what works and then double down on it, right? Like instead of like putting money in the stock market, which just like got wiped out, right? In the last few years, if I had put that in my business, which is working extremely well and providing really good returns,
Right.
I would have gotten a much better result than I did in the stock market, right?
Right.
So I think just understanding what's working and what you need to continue growth is key, and just to, get out of the fear a little bit
Yeah.
if
No,
you
you're right.
can.
Well, that's, I mean,
It,
it's the most important things that you put off, It's like
oh my God.
it's a
I was like, if
weird,
I can still do it myself. So I was like, why am I going to have someone else do it?
yeah.
Still do it, right? Yeah,
And those are the things that
it's a
sit
mistake.
there for like weeks on end, that you just need to get done. I mean, I showed you my list yesterday. I have a giant leads
Yeah.
list, and like the only thing that's not moving that leads list is me. Like, and that's
Yep.
it. It's just me.
Yep.
Like, I'm the only
You're the
one. So,
blocker.
all right. So you were working 16-hour days. You were killing yourself. You have come to be, probably in a better place now. Tell me, um, how are you? You have a kid. You're married.
Yeah.
You have a business and a lot of people that count and depend on you. So, how are you, trying to keep yourself alive for a long time? What are you doing to stay healthy, these days?
Yeah.
Anything?
Well, part of the reason I started my own business is, I wanted to work for myself and stop taking direction from someone who controls my paycheck.
Right.
Even though clients do that to some extent, but if you have enough of them, you can say, get lost. Um, I love to surf. Like surfing is like one of my big passions, and I was super limited because you can't surf. There's so many variables: the weather, the tide, the wind, the swell, conditions. And you can't just say like, oh, I have a appointment to go surf on Saturday. Like it's just like, oh, waves are coming and I want to go surf. And
Right.
with a full-time job, I couldn't do that because I just couldn't like get up
Yeah.
and go. So part of the reason I started my own company was like, I want to surf when I want to surf. Funny thing is now I'm married with a kid, so I can surf very little. But that was like a big reason for wanting to go out on my own. Like I just want to be able to surf when I want to surf.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so staying healthy is like focusing on surfing.
How about your
Because
sleep? Are you sleeping at all?
now I sleep pretty well actually. In the beginning, first with the business, I wasn't sleeping well because I was working a lot and always nervous. And then we had the baby, and newborns aren't the easiest to get an 8 hour sleep session
I've got
in
ones.
with.
I can hear mine screaming in the other room.
Yeah, there you
So yeah.
go. I had to send mine out, so
Yeah, I'd
get a
be
little peace
surprised
and
if I don't have
quiet.
to edit out some baby cries in the background.
Well, at least it's not
What
too.
about your diet? What do you eat? Do you just a normal, just eating whatever kind of guy?
Yeah, I go back and forth. I think I go through extremes, honestly. I started doing more of the like fasting type
Yeah,
diets, so like
yeah,
one meal a day,
yeah.
or I'll just skip a day sometimes, and like, and honestly, made me feel amazing. But I've gone through like phases where I just eat whatever the hell I want as many times in the day I want, and that used to work for me when I was a lot younger.
Yeah.
I'm 30, almost 34. Tomorrow's my birthday.
Oh, happy early birthday. How about that? Oh,
Thanks.
wow.
This is my birthday present.
This is a
Hang your chest.
Oh, this is such
Yeah.
a lame birthday present. We need to get you something better than this for your birthday.
Right. No, it works. It's my first podcast, so
Oh, it's your first
um,
one. See, there you go. Well, you're gonna start your own someday because we're all going on the same,
I know.
path. I
Yeah,
think eventually.
it's the marketing
Um,
push.
so
But
what? I
yeah,
did this. I did the fasting thing too. I like that. I
it
think
works.
it definitely works. I
I
think it kick you
think
into gear.
it was like trying to limit how much I can eat, like 3 meals a day, and the type of food I'm eating, like keto diets, like I can't do that at all.
Yeah,
Like it just doesn't work for me, but fasting really does because like it's just try not to think about food for a while, and
yeah.
yeah, I just feel better. I'm not trying to pick and choose what it is I'm eating on the plate and the portion size. Like I'll eat sometimes one meal a day, and like it's a big meal, and it's mostly
Mm-hmm.
what I want. I feel good.
Dude, that's beautiful. I'm a fan of, the intermittent fasting stuff too.
Yeah, it works.
It does work. I mean, that's the like. I mean, I'm not a doctor. I'm the same way as you
Right.
though.
Yeah,
I
yeah, don't
go.
take any of our
The
advice.
only thing that I have, that, people always tell you, like, you know don't go too hard into a diet, don't whatever, because they're gonna,
Yeah.
you'll never stick to, which is true. But the one thing I have pulled out of those extremes is some like individual things that I've enjoyed from like each one of them, right? Like I was eating
Yeah.
vegetarian for a while, so like pulled out a couple meals that like I still eat, and then I could try, doing the fasting thing, and I know, now what kind of food I shouldn't eat at night. So like pulling
Yeah.
those little things you learn from each of those diets, I think is, probably just as good as staying normal.
And that's the thing, like not it's not one size fits all, like these any of these diets,
Yeah.
So you kind of got to figure out what works for you and your body, and
Yeah, well,
like
we're just like evolved from monkeys that grew up in different parts of
yeah,
the world. Like, I don't,
yeah,
it's not, it's,
it's not gonna work for
I don't
everybody.
think
Yeah,
we figured this whole thing out yet.
yeah.
All right, so I did tell you there's a question that I love to ask everybody. Um, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? It can be in any context that you want.
What would I do? So in the context of Materialize,
In the context of anything.
yeah, no, it's a good question. Um, it's a great question. I mean, I would just have a bunch of kids, have a huge family,
You can do
right?
that. You can do that anyway. This
No,
is
but if you don't have income, you're screwed. Like you
that's
don't want to screw those kids up.
That's true. I don't know. I've been to there's some parts of South America that they
Yeah,
just have.
yeah, they didn't get that memo.
Yeah.
Um, and I would just start going hard on the business and putting everything I've got back into it
Yeah.
because
Well, this sounds like what we're gonna do over the next few weeks. Like I don't know.
yeah,
I
right.
mean, something. What is something you've never done because you're afraid of it or you're afraid of it going wrong? Maybe that's a different
Uh,
way to answer the question.
and I think we've talked about this before. I'll get my
Maybe.
pilot's license
Oh, pilot's license. Perfect. There
for
you go.
sure,
See,
for
there you
sure,
go.
for
My
sure.
the one I always use, the example I use after I let somebody answer is my wife's cousin Kim said, climb Mount Everest. And I'm like, that's a great answer.
That's a
Like if
good
you knew
answer.
you couldn't like
Yeah,
that's like a
that's true.
great.
All right,
But yours, I
a
love
little
yours.
further
Yeah,
out.
it's a
Yeah.
little further out, but like not really. No, but the pilot thing's awesome, dude. You should definitely go to your local airport. Actually, uh, I used to do. There's a training thing for the flight simulator. I think I told you. I was a big flight sim guy,
Is it the same?
and
Yeah.
but there's a service you can sign up for, and it's a virtual air traffic control, and there's literally like people in sitting at desks like routing virtual traffic to these airports in California, and
No
like they're
way.
like, you use it to train. I use it because I was having trouble like flying the airplane and learning to talk at the same time and
Oh,
like all
no
this stuff.
way.
I've flown to like all around Santa Monica and like the Bob Hope Airport and like all around like up
Yeah,
and
that's very
around.
near me. Yeah.
So yeah, go to one of those airports, get a
Oh,
discovery
no
flight, and
way.
go do it, dude. It's awesome. It'll change your life. Speaking of that, I got to get my
Bucket list.
my written exam done. So um,
Yeah, good luck. I know they're tough. It's
there,
a lot
yeah,
of work.
I think it's just memory,
It's a lot of
memorization.
studying.
So yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of studying.
Yeah.
It's work, which I don't like to do.
It's
So
work. Yeah.
all right, dude. I think we're good. Let's wrap it. You were
All right, man.
fantastic. I think
Yeah,
you've
this
got
is
a really
fun.
cool story. Yeah, it's fun. Let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, no, it's great. It is a good format. You got it down.
Is it too cold to surf right now over there?
No, it's never too cold because you just put on wetsuits
So you surf year round?
year round. Winter's the best.
Wow.
Pretty much globally, winter is when the big storms hit. So that's when the big swells come.
Dude, I had no idea. Now I learned something. That's
Yeah,
cool. Winter
yeah.
surfing is big.
Winter is preferable, but when you're
And
in
you
the
just put a
tropics, winter is
wetsuit
not
on
cold.
and you're
Yeah.
fine?
Wetsuit, booties. You need some thick booties sometimes. Like, yeah,
And then
it
you're
gets into the
fine.
50s. I think maybe the 40s here. I don't think it gets that cold.
All right. Well, don't get eaten by a shark or freeze to death.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we'll catch up again soon, buddy. Thank you. I
All right,
appreciate it.
man. This is fun.
All right.
Thanks a
Talk to you
lot.
later, buddy. Thank you.
See ya.
See ya.